and then ask either the library to do their own research on what's paid in the area, or according to whatever rules they have, and start from there. This could be made up after whatever happens.
I think we can do anything when we start the next budget. I think
I don't
after this one's over, we start all those talks, and that is probably a good place to start that. Councillor Moore?
Just to maybe tie this up, I'm wondering if perhaps what you had suggested, going with the 4765 as a one-time, not to interrupt like what we're doing in the long term, but like you said, we have time to be able to work a lot of these things out. Could we do the 4765 this one time, and being that it's somewhere in between, would that be acceptable to those that are looking for the 5369?
So I would say at this point that anything that we can find for them would be appreciated, and I would appreciate anything we can do. Yeah, I would accept that.
Madam Mayor, are we doing motions in this, or I would like to know whether or not council agrees to go to the 4765, then we would have that settled.
Yeah, we have a motion, we can start adding things to know what the numbers.
To what motion?
Well, I'm just saying that there's a motion with a number, and
not-
then everybody can add or take away from that.
No, I'm not going with that.
That's not what I mean. I don't mean that you're voting for that. I just mean that there's, administration has that number, there's a number up there. There's 4,000 on card.
But we don't know what else is changing.
You will. I'm sure.
When after we
Well, no, I'm thinking that this is what this is about, is that we're going to start talking about those things.
Okay.
Councilor Moore is starting that, so thank you. Can I, Amanda, that was in the 4765, sticks in my head. I just want to be accurate with it, because I know I looked it up in the minute or the agenda. I think it was October 21. October 20? October 20. So we have a number.
I would support that.
Maybe you hold that motion so we can know the motion,
Okay.
but we'll make sure that goes to
I'll
page 20.
mark that down, thanks.
And that's what we mean by moving forward. Thank you for that, Councilor. Pick away,
Welcome.
right? What was in November 21? You sure? Are you looking or just me?
No, I'm looking.
Okay, I think it's November 23rd, 2021. Yes, page 16 on November 23rd. $47.85, 20 cents.
4785?
47.85.
Okay, I'll correct that.
And that's what, Deputy Mayor?
Is there any way you can quickly call up what 2019 was for library funding?
Yeah.
No? Okay. That's fine.
I can.
I like Councillor McCoy's suggestion that we send this to the policy governance and start a framework that's policy, and maybe, and that certainly gets the legs going under it. Okay, so is there anything else? So, anything else on that list of red that anybody wants to suggest? To add? So we've dealt with the library. The planning services isn't being recommended because we're already paying more. Councillor McCoy?
I'm just wondering what the cost of dealing with graffiti is going to be, because it's very ugly and it's getting
Some graffiti stuff
everywhere.
out here.
Over chalk. Today there was two.
That was stuff. Anyway, go ahead. Do you know how much the graffiti initiative was costing?
Do you remember?
For the kits, we got 10 graffiti kits to hand out to businesses, was a total of $350. But it doesn't work on brick. Oh. And they found that with the string schema they rented, you didn't have to paint it. But it works great on flat surfaces, like the utility.
Okay, so I'm gonna go through the list then. Who wants the additional DDAC funding?
I can remember it's for.
The top one. Now, they already have 4,000 in their budget, and this is additional 4,000. For the DDAC funding, the top one, that's what I'm reading in the budget.
Sorry, no, because I think you're referring to the Christmas stuff, which,
Page 4, very top.
yeah, no, I understand that, but this is specifically, so what's in their budget is, I think, so in the original draft 1 budget, they had 1,000 in there. And so this was just, so this is specifically for DDAC, so
But for what?
just for anything DDAC might want to do through the course of the year.
So what's the... Here's a $4,000 line. Turn that on. What's EDC, HAC committees that have 4,500 in them?
Some of that is for the Christmas lights and the garland. Actually, the garland, I guess, is in that budget line.
To hang it?
Yeah.
Mayor, could we hear from Alexa about what DDAC is for? Because
Yeah, what that 4,000 is for, yeah?
yeah, please.
Good afternoon. So there was a DDAC line item last year as well. That was about, I believe, 5,000, and we reduced it to 1,000. However, it was never really utilized. So for this year, we had a DDAC member attending as well the EDA conference that was included in that. And also we were looking at doing more joint events with the DDAC town and the chamber for relationship building as well. And these were mainly the areas where we put $4,000 in for the DDAC members, were in the possibility to maybe also attend another event that is very educational when it comes to economic development.
Yes, thank you.
And just to speak to the budget question, so we looked up the information, so, and it's on multiple lines, but so there was currently in draft $1,000 for DDAC itself specifically, and then $8,000 for Christmas related things, $5,000 for the enhanced Christmas lights, and then $3,000 for the hanging of the garland.
That?
And just a reminder that council approved sending a
Yeah, we
DDAC member
did.
to the conference,
Yeah.
so that's already been approved. But would be funded out of this DDAC.
So you're already short 1,200.
Or 200, because there's 1,000 in, so.
Okay. So would anybody like to see DDAC get an additional $4,000? I'm going to just go around the table. And this isn't in stone right now, we're just, you know.
I guess because it, excuse me, it contributes to economic development. It's part of that process. So if our EDO is encouraged by the added funds to augment her department, I think it's valuable.
Councilor Williams?
An additional $4,000. I'm part of the DDAC committee. I'm just seeing more funds, but just at this time, I don't know if I can support it just because of how tight we are supposed to be.
Okay. Councilor Windsor?
Yeah, I'm going to echo Councillor Williams' sentiments that I would love to be able to give them a ton of bucketfuls of money, but I don't think we can afford it at this point.
Mayor, do you mind if pleasure, is it okay if the people that aren't in favor of the 4 would tell us if they're in favor of a lesser number or 0, just so that would help us to know, if you're not in favor of the 4, you're in favor of 2.
We're in favor of 200 right now.
Yeah. We need at least 200.
You caught it. Are you in favor, well, Councilor Baswick's in favor, so will you be in favor of a reduced number?
Yeah, I'll be in favor of reduced number. An additional $2,000. So we'll cut it down from 4 to 2. I'll be in favor of that.
Okay. Councilor Windsor?
I'll say the same thing, well, I'll cut it down to 200, but I don't think the taxpayers should be affording that this year. Are we forcing the taxpayers to afford that this year?
Yeah, I too am concerned about a $4,000 amount. One of the things I think that would serve us moving forward, because I think that the committee is definitely an asset. It would be really nice if we could create a little reserve fund and try and fund that a little bit so that that could be drawn out to pay for these types of personal, not like personal development. It is probably the wrong term. I think it was a very educational course, and they met some very influential people. So I would like to go a little step further, and maybe we can't get to that 4,000, but if we could maybe start a little bit of a reserve fund that we can fund somehow throughout the year to build up a little bit of a reserve that they could come and take some money out of when needed.
So that's a no, but a reserve, yes.
With 2.
For 2. Okay. Councilor McCoy?
I'm confused. I'm going to go with the, we go with 2.
Okay.
And it seems that 2 is better than none, so I'm going to go with the 2 as well. And then,
And I'm assuming that's 2,000?
2,000, not 200.
200.
What?
And definitely not $2.
Wait, not
Okay, so the 2,000 looks. And now the library funding we've done, the Canada Day activities, there is 5,000 already in the budget for Canada Day, but this was the extra 2,000 that, so I'll start with this end. What would you say to the 2,000?
I am more in favor of economic development than, I guess maybe we're already doing a lot of stuff. I guess I would probably say no to that one. I feel bad about it though.
Noted. Councillor Moore feels bad. Councillor McCoy?
I think maybe it might be a year to get the community members involved more. I'm okay with it not increasing, but maybe it could, we could engage the Elks or the Lions or whoever to maybe get involved and do some, or the fire department.
The fire department has a lot of money. Maybe they should do that.
Let's increase that.
And they can look after the fireworks too. Deputy Mayor.
Well, Mayor, if I could just explain, so this 2,000 is modified from before, and this is also we came up with a plan that we could do rather inexpensively, but also doesn't require a bunch of prep work, because we're kind of late in the year now, and so the ability to organize, we're kind of run out of time to organize kind of major, so that's why we came up with a plan that was relatively easy to put together.
So 2,000 just as a no?
Well, no, what I mean is that's, the new plan costs 2,000, but just, that's additional alternative ideas and plans, probably.
Oh,
We're just saying this is kind of a yes, no, not a, we're not sure if alternative plans would be doable,
oh, okay.
just based on the lateness of the season.
Oh, I see what you mean.
So,
So you want to pass the lines?
well, just,
I don't know.
Thank you, Mayor.
No, I agree. We've already got $5,000 in there for it. That would have been great, but we're looking for some savings here. A great one to team up with, and I know you didn't want to hear this, but the chamber, because they've got some, I think, some fireworks plans or in the works. So I think it's one that we could team up with them. But for this year, I think $5,000 in fireworks, I'm okay with.
Okay, Councilor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'm happy letting this go and be at zero.
I don't even need to ask you to, but I will. Go ahead, Councilor Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say, in the future, can we explore partnering with the Lions?
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Maybe for 2023. This time, I think the 5,000 for the fireworks is enough.
Thank you, Councilor Patrick.
I agree, 5,000 is good. We need some joy. I won't cut it. It's something that people are going to need so that get some happiness after these 2 years. So 5,000 is fine. We've already got that allotted. And I think they can, the last time it was pretty nice fireworks for 5,000. Really. So, yeah, I'm on for that. Thank you.
You're on sale this year too, so you'll get more. Okay, economic development requests. I have some glasses on. Can start with Deputy Mayor, who goes back and forth just to give everybody a chance to look. You want to go first?
Oh, sorry, my mic was accidentally on. I just would, can you just go through and say,
You can just say what part you don't like, what part you do like, or how much you'd like to assign. So,
oh,
do you have a number, do you have?
no, I would want to understand better what the amounts are, but I would pull out the contingency for sure, but the rest I'm not sure.
Well, do we want an overview of that? I don't know if we really have one.
Yeah, and we provided that sheet that had an explanation of all, but maybe if you want Alexa to speak to just a quick summary overview of each of these things so that you understand the,
Yeah, okay.
I think everybody knows what the can export is.
Well, we,
and it was, the contingency was specifically those kind of things that come up, like they do in economic development. It's kind of a very unique field where opportunities or things arise last minute or things come up, and it was just to give her a little bit of opportunity to make a call on a few things that might be beneficial to the community, and so that's the explanation behind that. But maybe Alexa, if you want to come up and just speak to.
And Alexa, yeah, she can give the overview, and then I'll go through them item by item. I think it's like what ones you do like and don't like, or if you want to alter them. So just be specific in that area of what you think.
So yeah, as Ethan explained a little bit about the contingency, the example for that is the opportunity that we had last year with with grants, for example, and the fast turnaround, where if we would have not moved along with it, we would have missed out on that opportunity because there was no time to bring it before council beforehand. So, and those opportunities, they arise consistently. And there's also the opportunity for, of course, network meetings that are coming up, where you can meet investors. There's, for example, the Stampede Forum. That was not clear if it is going to come or it's not going to come. But if we can, participate in that, which is it is a great opportunity, but we don't know yet if that's going to come. So these are some of those things that we can take advantage of, and if there's no line item for it, I have no opportunity to actually participate. That would come in addition. So I put this all into that one contingency and say, like, okay, if this is going to come up, I can comfortably say I can go there and represent the town of Didsbury and make sure that this is to the benefit of the community.
And that was just the contingency, but what about the rest?
Just give a brief summary of each of them.
Oh, I see. Sorry, I was like on a different sheet here. Sorry, my apologies. So the marketing is, there are certain campaigns that we can do that includes, for example, tourism, and we can do matching funds, and so we can actually increase our marketing budget if we have like a solid foundation in place. There was the possibility of possible signage to be included during a whole campaign. That could be in one of our target locations, such as Calgary, and trying to move, investors towards our area. The next one is advertising. Pretty much the advertising is the brochure that you already saw. That's one piece of the budget. And then there's also ad space. That is, for example, in the Invest Alberta that you saw for this year. That's going to come, it usually is coming up early in the same year, and the rest will be paid the following year. So this is another example for advertising space. And anything we do, let's say, we do some advertising and purchase space in the city, wherever it is, on a digital sign. This could be also at the airport. This is always very expensive, but when you do something like this, it's usually tourism related, and you can double up with a grant application and have something solid in place. The next one is the Can Export Community Investment. This was the FDI grant that was with the matching funds for attracting tech talent and IT companies in collaboration with the town of Sundre as well as Mountain View County. And we also, it is to build a foundation for our filming commission and really investing in our film industry as a target market and attracting more talent in that industry. Business retention. There's, for example, last year we had the food passport, and I think this year than ever it is really important to support our businesses because we don't know where we're going with the pandemic. A lot of people are hurting, and we need to make sure they have the support, our businesses, because we don't want them to leave. Of course, we want them to stay, and putting all the tools in place that we can. And some of those tools, they are on the website. There are website updates, for example, that could be implemented, and do other campaigns such as like the food passport, for example, in collaboration with the chamber, or in and other type of incentive programs, such as looking into exploring like an incentive program for facade improvements that could be in conjunction with community futures to be explored. So there's a lot of things and that our businesses may need, and this is why I put this number in there. It's just because we don't know. Like in 6 months, maybe we have a complete different wave, God forbid. But we want to be prepared for business retention. Economic development contingency, again, that's something where we, the one is like for the matching grants and funding, and like the contingency, as I mentioned, is to be able to be proactive instead of reactive, and really being able to take advantage of the opportunities as they arise, especially when it comes to attending those events that could add on to our investment strategy and attracting more businesses and investors. I think I got them all.
That should say attraction and recruitment. What are you saying?
I beg your pardon?
That should say business retention and attraction? Or is that what you're saying?
Usually we say like business retention, well, it's separate from the business attraction, but the business retention is really for our businesses that are already here and having the tools in place.
No, I just heard you say that, something about attraction at the end, so that maybe need an expansion of the title, but it doesn't necessarily. That's me, very wrong. Any questions? Well, Councilor McCoy spoke first, so I'm going to start here. Okay. So anything in there, or any modifications, any deletions, additions?
I'm just not a fan of contingency funds, just because it's like, we might as well make the whole budget a contingency fund. You can just spend it on what you want. That's my only thing, but that's a personal thing.
Go ahead.
So agreeing with Councillor Baswick's statements earlier about economic development, I think this one is important. I think this is the first year that we've seen a budget like this, and this may be a perfect opportunity to take a little most grant money, fund this first budget. Won't affect the taxpayers because the money is in a reserve, and we may find that this budget is too high or we needed more, but it would be a way. I think economic development, I think the activity that we see coming up, I think that's in big part and parcel to what our EDO has been doing, and I hate to start limiting those resources. It's counterproductive.
So what's your answer?
Keep it all and fund
You want to fund it from reserves?
Yes.
That's just my suggestion.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we haven't voted on that.
I know.
So, I'm going to go to Councillor Williams and then Councillor Windsor, just because I went that over that side.
Thank you, Mayor.
It's my OCD.
I feel like this is an area that we can see a lot of return in. I think by drawing more businesses here will help us in the long run. I'm going to echo what Councilor McCoy said, the contingency. I would suggest to remove that and have the whole budget at $68,000 and fund it from reserves.
Councillor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I think that funding our economic development officer and allowing her to do her work is really important. As I stated, I didn't think that this should be a special department that is handled differently, but at the same time, I'm in support of doing a good portion of this. I'm not in favor of contingency at all. And I think that maybe we need to be a little bit more sensitive to our taxpayers and the situation that our taxpayers are in, because this is going to impact not only the residents but businesses as well. And so I would support a reduction of this to half of what is proposed. Funded out of reserves, and if we find partway through the year that there is more needed, that there's nothing stopping the department from coming back to us and asking for an adjustment at that time.
Great. Councillor Moore?
Sorry, I just had to recover for a minute. I'm suggesting that 5,000 spent by her is less valuable than 5,000 spent by you. So, sorry about that.
Councillor Moore.
I am in favor of all of these things, and you have to have flexibility in this position. Absolutely. She needs the contingency to be able to move. She can't wait for 2 or 3 weeks for a council meeting. In case something comes up that is important to the town. I trust her, and I would like to see this funded from reserves, and I am in favor of all of it.
Councillor Bazak?
As I mentioned before, I don't want to do anything that's going to deter our economic development officer or that department as a whole from properly discharging their duties and what they have to do to improve and embellish our town. And it's just a moot point. The contingency of $5,000 is nothing. The one thing I notice is not on this, with all respect, is we're talking about a consultant, which is going to go beyond $8,000 to $10,000, and which is no value to the community, whereas economic development is prime value to the community. So I would like to see that discussed at one point, please. Thank you.
We've already made that motion,
I know,
so,
disappointing.
yeah.
Well,
But
considering
I would like to suggest, though, that people are entitled to say what they like at the table without being judged for what they say. And I think we could all take a look and see that certain people are more passionate about certain departments than others. So that's why we're here, and we're entitled to have our opinions. And we all come out with a vote at the end. Councillor McCoy?
So I think, the only question I have, if we're talking about PD, is, I heard the other day, is that AUMA is not part of the budget. So I thought it's recommended that everyone goes to, but not mandatory, but it needed to fit within your budget.
What are we
Is
talking
anyone
about?
else talking about the council remuneration? That's what
Oh.
I thought.
But we're not there yet. But hold that thought,
Okay.
because we're still in economic development requests. I don't know, I think Councillor
Oh, I've already
Baswick went off
spoken.
topic, so that probably won't happen.
Yeah,
So I think so. I have a suggestion. If one department gets a contingency, I think they all should, because they all have the same scenario. So that would be one that I'm not in favor of as contingency. So I think when someone also has availability to go after grants without coming back to, you have a grant account, I think that covers a lot. I would like to suggest, though, that our reserves, I believe, are for infrastructure, in my opinion, infrastructure and roads infrastructure. And I don't think that, in my opinion, I wouldn't agree with it being pulled out of reserves. Our economic development reserve is just getting built up. But at the same time, I know there's some money, and I would suggest, I'm just going to suggest, we have $45,000 going to general reserves, but we just put $444,000 in general reserves. So I think that's something to keep in mind, that if we didn't allocate to general reserves, because we already just did put 444 in, that could free up some money. And we add this to the list, keep a notation beside it, reserves or find the money. Maybe if that would, everybody could keep that as a thought when we do discuss the final, how it all comes together. Because there is some money in certain places that we can find. So I'm hearing that economic development is favorable for the funding. I hear there's 3 or 4 and up for the contingency. I wrote it down. 1, 2, 3, 4 for no contingency. So that would mean that comes out and the rest. Go ahead.
I would agree with you when we're putting reserves aside from the usual operations. I think because we went through the COVID years and we got the most grant and we had the surplus because we didn't do anything, I think that money, because we didn't do anything, is logically put forward toward our future. And I think that's why it's so suitable for the amount that we put, 444,000, that we put aside, basically just to get the books done at the end of the year. Logically, that is very appropriately used toward economic development and increasing our viability. When we look at the other towns that are our size, they have double the percentage of non-residential development that subsidizes everything that they do. And right now, the push that we can have toward making ourselves more sustainable toward the future is, I think we have a very bright horizon right now, and I don't want to cheap out on anything that will help us right now for the possibility. I think if there's a contingency, we can trust it not to be used unless it needs to be, and a report made about what it is that we're doing with it. So definitely I want to see all of this. If contingency doesn't happen, I hope we have some kind of a fund that can be accessed with maybe permission or something or another, that in case an opportunity comes up that we don't lose it because we're being cheap.
Well, I heard 4 say no to the contingency, so has anyone changed their mind? Because if that's the case, then we take that off and then we deal with the rest when we're going through the final number. So you keep that number.
Mayor, it's okay if Alexa just had a comment, if that's okay.
I know it seems to me like it's the hang up on the whole thing is a little bit the word of contingency. I think it is really, and as I described it earlier, if we would call it like investment attraction, maybe you're more comfortable with that, because it is truly going towards investment attraction. We don't have a line item that actually goes towards that, except what I earlier described. It's only just the marketing and so on. So I think if we would call it investment attraction, maybe that makes it more clear what it is about. As I mentioned, there could be like the Stampede Forum that we could possibly attend and have investors there where we could have conversations. So I just want to put this out there, and this is actually what we're looking at, is like really taking advantage of those type of events that actually happen throughout the year, last minute. So I just wanted to mention that.
Okay. Has anyone, we had 4 that didn't like the word contingency, so I'm asking them again, if they, you were all for everything, so would you change your mind about contingency at that point?
First, I would not, because the first 2 is marketing and advertisement. I would count that as attraction, so I would not be able to still the extra $5,000.
Yeah, she was one of them.
Yes.
She didn't say what she...
No, and yeah, we can, and we'll come back to it anyway when we make the final, so thanks for that. Still more ahead here. So we go to the municipal enforcement. My first question though is, if we're only going to do half a year, why it only went down $15,000? Because it was at 50, and now it's only at 35. So a half a year would be half of that, I think. Just in my math, but, you know.
Yeah, thanks for the question. So that specifically represents, because we're into these, so 50 was for the full year, because we already have a part-time, so it just needs 50 more to make it full-time. But because we're into May now, we estimated it down to 35.
And if we agreed that July 1st would be a start date, that would get us to 25. And I'm just throwing that out there for everybody, if it was July 1st start date.
Yeah, that's correct.
So we could work with, first of all, can we agree or have comments if July 1st would be a good start date to get it to 25? Okay, and then we can make a decision whether or not we want to keep that then at 25. And I'll start with, what would I start with? Councillor Moore?
I would be, yes. Does that mean that we pull back the half that the county gets?
We still got to work on that one.
Oh, okay. Not sure?
We got to deal with that one.
Okay, in any case, I think we need them.
And sorry, just for what it's worth, that's a good point, Mayor, about that. Just for your information, as you wrestle with this, spring tends to be one of our busiest times of the year with complaints and all the, so, but that doesn't change the fact that, just so that you're aware of that information, that it tends to be, right now, they're very busy.
Okay, Councilor McCoy, we agreed that if we took this to $25,000 and started at July 1st, it's a municipal enforcement, then we could have half of 50,000. We just mentioned that we're busy this time of year. They're looking at a June 1st start date. So
I would go with June. Just because there's a lot of municipal enforcement to be done. Sorry, John.
I think June is a good time to start. I know it might save a month's wages, but by June, it's light out later, kids are around, trailers, whatever. I think if that's their busy time, then wouldn't we be better off having the most coverage then?
Yeah, those are the options, 25 or, did you want to stick with July 1st?
No, I'll go with either. I want to see more municipal enforcement, especially in the kinds of nuisances and issues that we've had, and traffic, because we're not getting it from the RCMP.
Well, CPO1s can't do the traffic.
I know, that's why I want them to be able to.
We're working towards it.
Yeah, they are.
John, thank you, Mayor.
I would be good with July 1st.
I would be happy with either, I guess. I understand June 1st, and the need for the coverage in June, but I also understand that this is a budget item, so I'm relatively comfortable with either way.
If you didn't say one or the other, just because.
I'd be happy with July 1st.
And I'm going to Council Morgan the same, so Councilor Williams.
Thank you. I'll be happy with July 1st and keep on pushing the county to pay their fair share.
Councilor Bassett? Okay, so that's work for July 1st. So we take that 25,000, everybody agrees that 25,000 would be something we could add. And then since the planning services, 75,000, we're not recommending it, so I don't know what, maybe we could start with Councilor Bassett. You think we should go against your recommendation and say, let's hire
What were you saying?
Well, planning services, that's for a planner to be on staff, and that's what that 75 is for half a year right now. But administration isn't recommending it for this year. So we take a better look at it for next year and
Give us more time.
in
to
our
plan
planning,
for it.
yeah.
Just-
So would
You're
you,
suggesting we're actually going to defer something?
No, I'm saying, do you want to agree with administration that we shouldn't hire him, or do you want to say to administration, let's hire him anyway? That's
Well,
the most basic I can put it.
yeah, I default to administration. I think they're on the know of what to expect and what we can do. So, yeah, I'd let them make the decision.
Thanks for that.
I would defer it.
Okay. I know you're gonna say something.
Is it my turn?
Yes.
I agree with Councillor Baswick.
Councilor, go ahead.
I agree with your recommendation.
Okay.
And I do as well.
Okay. Throw that page away, everybody. Never see it again. But anyway, so I think, now Amanda, with that,
I think we're getting to a point now, we've added some things, so we need a number to, and we'll let everybody speak to, you can speak to your motion to what you thought was in there off that, but everybody, and we're gonna go through, and if there's some, like, we'll go through the green, if there's something that you thought of that someone else hasn't for that motion, then it gets added into the list as far as,
You want us to calculate draft 3 plus the things?
yeah, so we know that draft 3, and by the way, thanks for that draft 3, I was gonna start with that. It did achieve our expectation and exceeded it by 3,000, so. Councilor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. Was there a decision made with regard to the library fund? And if it was, what was the difference that we're talking about?
5268 by 4785. Yeah, that's the top number in our
It's
count.
about $4.96.
Actually,
Approximately.
it's about,
250. So 4785 by, and we wanted, everybody does want to stick with 5268 for this year?
So it's an additional 7.6 approximately thousand.
How much?
7,690.
Okay,
No.
okay, so we'd add,
I thought we were at 4269, going to 4765.
46, 40,
That makes it bigger.
You want 4269?
no, we're at 4369. No, 4639 is what we're at. And we went up to 4785.
Okay. I don't think that's big enough.
But we'll all, we've got that number right now. If we went around the table about it, I believe, didn't we?
I think we were discussing the 2019 number, and we haven't got that number yet. And that's what we're looking for.
Well, what I understood was that we deal with it right now with this number, because we went around the table, and then going forward, we refer it to the Policy and Governance Committee to set a better policy that will stick going forward.
With reference to 2019.
No, this reference.
Okay, I guess,
That's what we went around the table about, and that Policy and Governance Committee was going to deal with a better policy going forward. That's what the outcome that I heard was. So we're at 7,600 more. So what we need is, I guess, to add those numbers on to the
Draft 3?
draft 3.
Yeah. So Amanda's going to calculate that. Maybe you want to take a 5-minute break and
Yeah.
you want a chance to Amanda.
Oh, we're in just a recess.
Oh,
I didn't actually say we're in recess, so I'll ask you a question.
I just, in the document, you said 5369 per capita for the library. How did you come up with that amount?
I know you said earlier.
Councillor Engel came up with that amount a long time ago.
Yeah, so we got that when Councillor Engel made that proposal to switch to a one-time per capita increase of plus 27,808. We calculate that out, and that's what it would be based on today's population. So that's why we came up with 5369. We took what Councillor Engel had proposed and calculated it based on what would need to do the math.
Okay, we'll have a 5-minute, oh, have you got that already?
Quick question.
Oh, okay.
So do you want it with the FDEB stuff in or not in? You didn't,
Everything but the contingency.
right, but some people were talking about
Oh,
finding
yeah,
it
I can tell you what they are. There's
from reserves.
6,000.
Was the consensus, I guess you're just trying to capture, was the consensus to not fund it from the reserves, it was to add it to the budget?
Well, we're just adding it down and we're gonna figure out how to fund them.
Yeah, which is probably the best practice, let's add everything to it and then later decide how to fund it based on.
So it's 5 million.
Okay, so the new number is,
5,041,479.
5,041,041.
Yeah, 041.
Then
what's the last?
479.
Yeah, Amanda, could we get you to put that on that chart that we were talking about? Just, we'll have a recess for 5 minutes and maybe you can bring those charts up. So I can add color recess? Do you have those available? Okay. Do you need 5 minutes? So everybody,
She won't be able to enjoy the recess. She's not working very much.
Yeah, so why don't we do the, and, because I guess are we still planning to take a break there?
yes, well, if she's, Amanda, want time to do that?
Yeah, she can do it now, we're just wondering when we're still.
Well, I think we should and then be back at 6. Let's recess for 10 minutes.
Is it a break or a, just a?
Yes, and if I could, sidebar discussions about how we're funding things should be in the open. So anybody talking about how we're funding things, let's talk about them at the public meeting, Councillor Moore and Councillor McCoy. So we all can hear what's the funding proposals are. And we'll have a break for 10 minutes. Be back at 6, please.